Private Jesse James Blanton was born in Moody, Texas on August 4, 1890. He was the first of 14 children for Mary and James Blanton. His birth order in such a large family will shape the decisions he made throughout his life. The Blantons moved from Texas to Oklahoma Territory between 1903 and 1905 and settled in the newly established town of Norman. They lived in a small house on Sim Street, just a few blocks from the hustle and bustle of downtown. Throughout his teenage years and early 20s, Jesse continued to live at home and contributed to the support of his family. He began working as a linesman for the Oklahoma Gas and Electric Company in 1909 and continued working that job until he joined the Army in April 1918. Tragedy struck the Blanton family on early 1916 with the death of Jesse's father, James, and Jesse took on the responsibility of becoming the primary wage earner for his family. His mother and numerous siblings still lived at home. In April of 1918, Jesse left his job at OG&E and joined the Army. Private Blanton became a soldier in the 90th Division, the 344th Machine Gun Battalion, Company C, and began his Army training at Camp Travis, Texas. By the end of June, Jesse and the other soldiers of his division, known as the Texas-Oklahoma Division, were on their way to France to join the fighting. Their first major test as a unit was to provide artillery support for the St. Mihiel offensive. And after the success at St. Mihiel, and the Americans began to focus and shift toward Verdun, the 90th Division began to move toward Montfaucon. American infantry initially struggled without support from the machine gun battalions like Jesse's because of logistics made it difficult to move through the units. Sometime after September 25th, Blanton was wounded during a battle and hospitalized. His battle wounds proved too serious to overcome, and on October 7, 1918, Private Jesse James Blanton died of his wounds and was buried at the Justice Hospital Temporary Cemetery. Some might think that the death of Private Blanton is the end to his impact on the world, but Jesse was forever thinking of his family and of his responsibilities as the oldest child. The additional life insurance Jesse purchased from the U.S. Army continued to provide his mother and younger siblings with the support they needed to survive for almost 2 decades. The death of her oldest son proved to be such a devastating loss for Mary Blanton that her health began to deteriorate and she became unable to work. In reading correspondence between Mary and the U.S. government about her continued status as a dependent of her deceased son, Mary replied that her heart condition worsened significantly after the death of her son and that she would never recover. She acknowledged that she was dying of a broken heart. 100 years later, as I drive the streets of mine and Jesse's hometown, I think of him as that OG&E linesman building our town's infrastructure. Although his original power lines have long been upgraded and replaced, I imagine his lines connecting our 2 communities together over the past century. I often drive down the street where Jesse lived with his family, and I imagine what life was like for him starting over as a teenager in a place that was not even yet a state. Jesse's Norman was a young, burgeoning town with a train station, the beginnings of a university, and a dusty dirt road for Main Street. My Norman is a vibrant college town of over 125,000 people. In 2008, the city of Norman unveiled a Veterans Memorial that includes Jesse and honors him and other Normanites who lost their lives while serving our country. The memorial stands proudly just a little over a mile from the quiet street where the Blantons lived. Jesse, you are in my memory and in the collective memory of your hometown as someone who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and we thank you for your service.